Hello, it's been a minute. It's been a long minute, actually. It's been a good few months since I've come to have a chat, and I've got Sudocreme that's on my wrist for a burn. It's all over the place. But never mind that. Right. Never mind that. Never mind that. So, I'm going to have a chat about phone addiction. What to do about it, and why I think there's a link between Sigmund Freud's death drive, which he called Thanatos, the link between the two things. In 1920, right, there was an essay that Sigmund Freud wrote, which was called Beyond the Pleasure Principle. So he basically upended his own theories. Before that, he kind of believed that humans were entirely driven by the pleasure principle, as you'd call it. It was the pursuit of gratification, survival, connection, and he called it eros, or something like the drive for life. But this is when he upended his own theory. So basically, after he witnessed like repetitive nightmares of World War I veterans and watching people consciously repeat toxic, self-destructive patterns, Freud, he realized that something else was at play. Like he hypothesized that organic life carries an inherent unconscious pull to return to an earlier or inorganic tension-free state. So the death drive, which was Thanatos, because sounds like a thing, doesn't it? Like Thanos. I wonder if they got that Thanatos from the Marvel thing. Anyway, so the death drive, right? It isn't necessarily right a conscious wish to die. What it is a drive towards inertia, towards numbness, the erasure, not the band erasure, but the erasure of stimulation, erasure of tension and psychological pain. So it often manifests itself as a repetition compulsion, the urge to compulsively repeat behaviors that cause distress because the predictability of the loop is safer to the psyche than facing the actual chaos of reality, basically. So where's the link to phone addiction then? So if we think of phone addiction, right, we usually look at it through like a behavioral lens. Dopamine hits, notifications, looking for pleasure. But if you look a little bit closer at most doom scrolling isn't pleasure at all. Like, so this here is where Thanatos comes in. So the zombified state of pure inertia. So when you sit on a sofa and scroll through like little short form videos or feeds for like 3 hours straight, you're not seeking joy. You're seeking a psychic blackout. The algorithmic loop acts as a perfect vehicle for the death drive. It numbs the brain. It suspends all active thought. It flattens your emotional landscape to a static, passive state. It's the ultimate reduction of mental tension, like a temporary digital simulation of just non-existence. So this is where we have the modern repetition compulsion. So Freud had noted that the death drive focuses or not focuses, like forces us to repeat painful things. Like, think about what you see when you doom scroll, and you see terrible news, you see rage baiting, you see idolized, like idealized or idle, like amazing lifestyles, like idle. Am I saying the right word there? It's not idle, isn't it? Like a idealized lifestyle that make you feel like completely inadequate, like you'd think everybody else is having a fucking amazing life and you're not. So rationally, you know that looking at all this stuff hurts your mental health. You let your thumb keep flicking up, just keeps flicking up, 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 up. So the apps on your phones are structured to exploit the mind's desire to cycle through this stress and keep you in a loop of like predictable misery, because it doesn't require any thought really. It just requires zero cognitive effort. You end up turning that aggression inward. So Freud argued that if the energy of the death drive isn't channeled outward, it turns inward as just self-aggression. Phone addiction, right, is an act of microaggression against the self. We sacrifice for sleep, our physical posture, your real world goals, and your self-esteem basically to the screen. We're experiencing a slow form of digitized self-sabotage. So you're asking us, I can hear you asking us, you're asking us, you're saying, how does it affect your mood, or my mood and my depression? Well, I can tell you that the overlap between like a digital death drive and depression, it's cyclic, or cyclical, like goes round and round, and it's also devastating. Like, it's devastating. So there's a thing called the anhedonia trap, which is basically a loss of pleasure. It's a depressive state that naturally makes you want to withdraw and hide from the friction, the real world, basically. So the phone offers a low barrier escape because scrolling provides cheap, it's a low grade dopamine hit. It burns out your reward paths over time. It leaves us unable to find joy in high effort real world activities, things like reading, exercising, socializing, and yet depression deepens. Also creates this a disembodied, I think it said shelf, a disembodied self. The death drive wants to escape organic life. When we live through a screen, we completely disconnect from our physical bodies. We ignore hunger, fatigue, physical presence. This disembodiment removes the grounding sensory inputs that regulate human mood, leaves us feeling hollow, dissociated, and emotionally flat. So it also creates guilt and a punitive ego. So after a massive scrolling binge, when you've been on for hours just scrolling through useless shite, the immediate aftermath is like, it's not peace. It's a heavy wave of guilt and self-loathing. Your ego pushes you because you've been wasting time, which lowers your mood even further, making you want to escape the painful feelings by basically picking up the phone again. That's the loop. So what does this mean for us? Understanding phone addiction through Freud's death drive shifts the conversation entirely, you see. It means our screens aren't just slot machines giving us rewards, they're like psychic anesthetists. Yeah. We aren't just addicted to the high of the notification, we are hooked on the low of the numbness. So recognizing that scrolling is often an unconscious flight away from the tension of being alive is the first step to breaking the loop. It reframes the battle against screen time, not as a simple matter of willpower, but a conscious choice to choose eros, which is engagement, friction, presence, life, over the comfortable, silent pull of digital inertia. So let's continue. Yeah, right. So we're not just hooked on pleasure. We're kind of starting to get addicted to being brain dead. You think about it, right? We're like to pretend we are addicted to our phones because they're fun or convenient, and that's the lie that we're telling ourselves to make us feel better about what we're doing. So if you look at someone who's 3 hours into a scrolling binge, they're not smiling. They look like they're a corpse with a twitch on their thumb. Little twitch. Boop, boop, boop. So it's Freud's death drive at its purest, ugliest form. You're not chasing a dopamine high, you're chasing a psychic blackout. The human brain, if you can think of it, it's burdened by consciousness. It's hard work to think, to feel, to process anxiety, to face the friction of reality. So the phone offers a horrific bargain. It's saying to you, give me your mind and I will make you numb. Think about it. It's a digital lobotomy. You're using the screen to stimulate a non-existence because you lack the courage or the energy to handle the tension of being alive. It's pretty hard stuff. It is hard stuff. When you start thinking about it, it's hard because it's something that we've got to deal with. So the algorithm, it's a parasite feeding on your own self-sabotage. Freud talked about the repetition compulsion, the twisted human urge to repeat behaviors that actively harm us. So the tech industry, the algorithms, they figured this out years and years ago. They don't feed you content that makes you enlightened or at peace. I mean, there might be a small percentage of it there somewhere. Their job is to feed your rage, inadequacy, doom, and division. And you know with absolute certainty that looking at this garbage will ruin your mood, it'll spike your anxiety, and it'll make you feel like a failure. But yet, you just keep doing it. You keep clicking away at it. And it's not an accident. Your subconscious actively craves the predictable, low-effort misery of the loop over the unpredictable effort of real life. The algorithm acts as a parasite that feeds your death drive, keeping you trapped in a cycle of digital self-flagellation. You're willingly hanging your attention over to a machine that it uses to grind. It's grinding your self-esteem into an absolute dust. And amongst all this, there's the psychological fallout, the total evacuation of the self. The impact on this mood and depression isn't just bad, it's catastrophic. So anhedonia, which we talked about before, is by constantly flooding your brain with the cheap synthetic micro rewards, you're permanently burning out your dopamine receptors. You are making yourself emotionally impotent. Like real life, reading a book or building a skill, having a deep conversation, that all that stuff requires effort and friction. But because your brain is addicted to effortless numbness of the screen, real life starts to feel it feels boring. It's agonizingly boring, and you just lose the capacity to feel actual, genuine joy. Oh, this is going on quite a while, but I'm just going to keep on going because it's just, there's stuff to talk about here. So if you're still with us, you're a fucking boss. So there's also the erasure, not the band, by the way. The erasure of your agency. The ultimate goal of the death drive is like a total surrender of control. Returning to an inanimate state where you don't have to make choices. Your phone addiction achieves this by systematically castrating your willpower. You no longer have to choose what to think, what to look at, what to care about. You're handing sovereignty over to basically an optimization engine. You sit there, you're passive, waiting for a piece of code to dictate your emotional state for the next 60 seconds to God knows how long. Like, it's the absolute death of human agency, like, to do stuff. You train your brain basically to rely entirely on an external black box to stimulate or soothe it. You're losing ability to self-regulate. You become psychologically infantile. The terrifying truth, right, is that you are actively choosing this dependency as well. We all are. Because being a free human being with agency requires responsibility, requires effort, and guess what? The risk of failure. Oh no, I might fail. So the death drive that's inside of you, it prefers the quiet, slave-like comfort of being steered by an algorithmic master. It's easier. So Eros, right? We talked about Eros before. It's the drive for real, for the messy, for physical connection. It's the actual thing that keeps humans healthy. But Thanatos, the death drive, wants isolation, wants coldness, it wants distance. Phone addiction allows you to practice a form of social necrophilia. So you're trading the living, breathing human relationships for dead, created ghosts on the screen. That sounds a bit wild, doesn't it? But think about how you interact now. It's like far easier to watch someone else's life on their, or not on their screen, but like watching through your screen, what's their life, or to text a fucking shitty, sterile paragraph than it is to look a human in the eye and navigate their unpredictable emotions and offer your raw, unedited self. Yeah, the phone acts as a psychological condom. It's protecting you from the friction of real intimacy. But intimacy is where self is validated. By retreating into a digital monastery of your screen, of your phone, you're letting a real world social muscle atrophy into nothing. Think about it. Letting the real world social muscles atrophy to nothing. You're not connecting. You're just safely, voyeuristic. You're just watching life happen from the safety of your own fucking digital coffin, while your actual relationships wither and die from neglect. That's fucking harsh, isn't it? What do you reckon? To have a healthy psyche, right, you need a coherent sense of time. You need a past, you need the present and a future. And you need a narrative as well. A death drive, Thanatos, it hates structure. It wants to shatter things back into a disorganized, fucking chaotic nightmare. So look at what short form algorithmic feed does. It completely obliterates your attention span. It smashes your conscious into a 5-second unrelated fragment. It's a tragedy, a cooking video, a dance trend, a fucking ad, a political outrage. So this constant whiplash that you're seeing backwards and forwards in the fragmenting, it destroys, not destroys, it destroys your deep work and memory and your capacity for contemplation. You're introducing a state of synthetic ADHD, and without a sustained attention span, you lose the ability to form deep, complex thoughts or to self-reflect. You become an amnestic creature, living purely in a fractured, high-stress present, unable to plan a meaningful future, like process your past properly. You've allowed the machine to chop your intellectual, or your intellect, your intellectualness, into digestible, monetized little bits, leaving you mentally bankrupt and profoundly empty, really. Aye. So what we're going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Any idea? Well, let's be pragmatic, right? Let's be pragmatic about this, right? You're not going to throw your smartphone into a river. You're just not going to do it, are you? So you need your smartphone for, you need it for work, you need it for logistics, communication, and navigation as well. So we're looking at like what's a healthy, realistic target for non-essential, like recreational screen time, like for looking at shit, basically. We're gonna say it's under 60 minutes a day, 60 to 90 minutes a day. I mean, if you can get under that, it's much better, isn't it? I think anything beyond 90 minutes isn't utility at all. Like, it's a slow onset of psychological blackout. We've been talking about for the last 20 minutes. If you're hitting 3, 4, 5 hours a day, you're yielding a massive proportion of your waking life basically to a machine. So, right, let's talk about this. So the antidote, right, to the death drive, okay, is choosing, instead of Thanatos, which is the craving for effortless inertia, numbness, deletion of tension. The antidote is then Eros, which is the life drive. So in the digital layers, Eros is synonymous with friction. Life requires effort, movement, physical resistance, psychological presence. To defeat the urge to numb out, you must intentionally introduce friction back into your existence. So you need to implement interventions basically to force you into thinking. The algorithm wins, right, because it eliminates the gap between your boredom and your response. When you pick up the phone before your conscious brain even registers that you're doing it, you have to break the automatic reflex. So here's one point here. It's called, you could use something like the 3-breath rule, right? So when you pick up your phone, before you unlock it, you hold it in your hand, it's closed, and you take 3 slow, deliberate breaths, and you ask yourself one brutal question, right? You say, am I using this tool for a specific task, or am I looking for a temporary escape from my own mind? If it's the escape, you put the phone back down. Face down as well. You don't want to get that screen away from you. Like, second thing you can do, radical friction in the environment. Make the phone really annoying to use, right? So move all your social media and your news and all the algorithmic apps off the home screen and bury them in like folders in other parts of your phone. You turn off every single non-human notification and set your screen to grayscale. So you're stripping away that hypersaturated color profile, which like basically immediately robs your brain of the cheap visual rewards it craves. And number 3, create physical no-go zones, right? So somewhere like your bedroom and the dining table have got to be sanctuaries away from the phone. Like, so if your phone is on your nightstand, the death drive wins at 11 at night and 7 a.m. in the morning. So instead, buy a dedicated alarm clock and charge your phone in another room overnight. Just keep it away from you. So we can also re-engage with the heavy, messy world. We're not just going to be able to stop scrolling. We have to replace that digital void with something heavy enough to anchor you in reality. So we need to reclaim the physical body. So the phone thrives when you're a disembodied ghost. The fastest way to snap out of a psychic blackout is high effort physical exertion. Whether it's pushing weights or strenuous cycling, interval sprints, any kind of manual labor, it forces your consciousness back into your muscles, into your lungs, into your heart. It replaces this systemic dopamine with genuine earned biological feedback. So you can also embrace boredom as a creative fuel. So when you feel that uncomfortable itch of emptiness or silence, don't scratch it with a screen. Let the fucking thing sit there. Boredom is the psychological threshold to deep thought, to self-reflection, actual genuine creativity. If you cure every microsecond of boredom with a short video, you never allow your brain to synthesize its own thoughts. Makes sense, doesn't it? Choose complex, linear focus. Retrain your fragmented attention span by engaging in activities that cannot be multitasked or skimmed. Read a physical book. Build or repair complex machinery. Work with your hands. Or have long, uninterrupted conversations where your phone is fucking gone, like out of sight. It's a funny, isn't it? 28 minutes now, been rabbiting on about this stuff. The ultimate antidote isn't an app blocker. It's just cold realization. We have to realize it. When we feel the urge to drift to the infinite scroll, you've got to recognize it. We've got to recognize it for what it actually is. It's a micro craving to give up. Just switch off the lights and stop existing for an hour. Choose to put the phone down, face the silence, and do something that isn't just good time management. It's an assertive, defiant act of choosing to stay alive. Right, that's it. That's all I've got to say. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts on phone addiction, and how I've wrapped it in the Freud's death drive. Be quite interesting to hear what your thoughts are. But that it's a good analogy to use this, and it works really, really well because it kind of explains what is going on. If you've made it this far, wonderful. If not, then whatever. Right, thanks for listening, and I'll see you when I have more thoughts.